Hello, my name is Tim Steele, and welcome back to my channel. My channel is called A Spiritual Conversation. So let's have one on today's topic. And let me shrink my picture so you can see the topic. And this is about the best I can do here. The topic is the prophet Hosea, part one. And part one is subtitled The Story of God's Unrelenting Love. And let's get into it. The Minor Prophets, the book of Hosea, a tragic but hopeful love story. Let's talk about the love story, folks. There's two love stories going on here, folks, and they will mirror one another. It's the love story of God's love for Israel, and it's the love story of Hosea's love for his promiscuous wife, Gomer. Now, sometimes, folks, when we talk about Hosea, the love story that become the predominant one is actually Hosea and Gomer. And the love story that this book is really about takes a back seat. Shouldn't be that way. Every time I would look up something on the book of Hosea, you see Hosea with Gomer. Okay. Now, the prophecy of the Lord for Israel will start in chapter 4 and it go through chapter 14, 10 books. Okay, excuse me, about 10 chapters, not books, 10 chapters. The whole story about Hosea and his wife Gomer will start in chapter 1 and it ends in chapter 3. So most of the book is not about Hosea and Gomer, but it's about um, Hosea's prophecy on Israel. Okay, how God is going to charge them, He's going to punish them, and He's going to forgive them, and He's going to bring them back to Him. But sometimes, and I don't know how this happened, uh, we sort of get caught up in the first three chapters of the book, those about Jose and Gomer. So let's go ahead and get on into this. And I'm going to first start with showing you my chart again of the minor prophets. Now, the first one is Joel, and they believe that his prophecy uh, was around 830 BC to 810. It's hard to date Joel because in Joel, they don't mention any kings when you read his works. Um, they don't mention any. They talk about a plague and locusts and stuff like that, but I think that's more symbolic for something. But it's hard to date it because there's not a king mentioned or an event that took place in history during that time that we can date. So some people don't believe that Joel was first. They think he was somewhere in between Obadiah and Nahum, but we don't know. But we know that Jonah would be 795 to 775 because we know who the king was at during that time. That was Jeroboam II. And Jonah actually, ministry actually starts before these dates because I think God is going to send him to the northern empire, the northern kingdom, with a message of peace and prosperity for the land, and that they're going to win their all their land back from the king of Aram. And this is going to be before the Lord will send him to Nineveh. So he's going to make two visits there. So it might have started a little bit before this, but for the book of Jonah, these are the dates we're going to go with. Next one was Amos from 765 to 755. And again, the king was Jeroboam II. Now, Amos can be dated by that earthquake. That earthquake that happened 2 years. Its ministry started 2 years before the earthquake. Now, I don't know what earthquake they're talking about, but a historian in that region would know the earthquake, and they would have a pretty good idea what uh, the date, the dates of Amos' ministry by that earthquake. If they know the date of the earthquake, they can sort of figure out when Amos' ministry took place. And next will be Hosea. Now, Hosea runs from 755 to 720. And that's the ministry dealing with Israel, let's see, idolatry that is in the book of Hosea. Because the Hosea ministry is going to last a lot longer than in these, this was 25 years. It is said that Hosea ministry lasts some 60 years. And he was the first prophet during that time to actually have written writings of his ministry. Now, people after him did, and people before him had other people wrote about them. Okay, but Hosea actually had written writings about his ministry in real time. So let's move on. Chapter 1: The Lord prepares Hosea for the coming mission. And I like to call it that because he's going to prepare him in the sense that Hosea is going to have a true uh, taste of what God is going to with unfaithful Israel by having an unfaithful wife. And this is what God is going to tell him to go marry a promiscuous woman and and have children by her. So he's going to have his own headache, okay? And this headache is going to mirror what God is going to with Israel. Let's go to the next one. Okay, Hosea 1:1. The word of the Lord that come to Hosea, son of Beri, during the reign of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and during the reign of Jeroboam, son of Jehoash, king of Israel. Okay, Hosea chapter 1, verses 2 and 3. When the Lord began to speak to Hosea, the Lord said to him, "Go out and marry a promiscuous woman and have children with her. For like an adulterous wife, this land is guilty of unfaithfulness to the Lord." So he married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Now, this is important because here they say bore him a son. So this is going to be Hosea's child. But there are Bible historians who believe that the other two children was not his. And once you get to Hosea 2, you start to see evidence of that. At least what they use as evidence. Now, I sort of like agree with them because to me that explains the names that the Lord is going to tell Hosea to name these kids. And so we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, let's move on. Hosea 4 and 5. Then the Lord said to Hosea, call him Jezreel, because I will soon punish the house of Jehu for the massacre at Jezreel, and I will put an end to the kingdom of Israel. And that day I will break Israel's bow in the valley of Jezreel. Now let's talk a little bit about Jehu and Jezreel. Jehu was an officer in Israel's army uh, during the time of the leadership of one of Ahab's sons. Okay, this is right after Ahab died. So this is Ahab and Jezebel's son. So you can imagine how wicked this guy was. And it came to a point where God was through with that, through with the wickedness, and he was going to remove him. And he's going to use Jehu to remove him, and he's going to make Jehu the new king. Now, the prophet was go in and anoint Jehu and tell Jehu, this is what the Lord say. You'll be the next king, and this is what the Lord wants you to do. So the Lord is going to send Jehu out to first to assassinate the king and take power, and later on he's going to kill all 70 of Ahab's sons. So there'll be no one to oppose Jehu's reign because if a son left alive, he can always come up and say I'm the true king, but because due to the fact that my father was Ahab. So he's going to kill all 70 of his sons. Now, this is going to happen, at least in Jezreel. Now, the 70 of the sons is going to be in Samaria, but the killing of the king himself is going to be in Jezreel. Now, so what's the deal with Jezreel since God ordered him to do this? Well, see, Jehu is going to be a bit of a madman Once he starts the killing, he's going to kill some innocent people too. He's only even going to cause the death of Judah's king. Judah's king was visiting uh, the king of Israel at the time, and when Jehu turned on the king, he saw Judah's king sitting there, and he said, "I kill him too." And so he wounded him, and the king was able to make it back to Jerusalem, but he died there. And he did some other things too, where he just sort of like went off script and was killing innocent people because he felt like he had God behind him. And God going to call him to the table on that. And Jehu's his descendants will be on the throne for like 4 generations. And then God going to take the throne away from him because he didn't like Jehu's behavior. Now, see, nothing get past God. Okay, even though he was doing a lot of good things that God asked him to do, but for the evil things, God just don't push it under the table. He's going to have to reckon for the evil stuff he done. Now, some of the good things that Jehu did was he got rid of Baal worship. He had all the prophets of Baal, brought them in, and that famous saying, Ahab worshiped Baal uh, a little, but I will worship Baal a lot. And so he called a meeting. All the prophets of Baal came in, and he locked the place up and he killed all of them. So he got rid of Baal worship. Now some of the other idols he did not get rid of. So he was not he had some flaws. And all of the Israel kings, I was wondering if maybe he was one of the better ones because none of them was pleasing to God. Neither was Jehu. But anyway, and let's move on. I'm going backwards here. All right, Hosea chapter 1, 6 and 7. Gomer conceived again and give birth to a daughter. Then the Lord says to Hosea, call her Laruhama, which means not love. For I will no longer love Israel, that I should at all forgive them. Yet I will show love to Judah, and I will save them not by bow, sword, or battle, or by horses and horsemen. But I, the Lord, their God, will save them. Now, let's talk about two things in this one here. The first thing is that when the Bible says that Gomer conceived again and give birth to a daughter, it didn't say that was Hosea's, but that's sort of weak. That's not what we're going to base our opinion on. This is not his child just by that, because that would be pretty weak. And we're going to see some evidence in chapter 2. Now, and the next thing I'm going to look at in here is like when the Lord says that he will save Judah, and it's not going to be by bow, or sword, or battle, by horses or horsemen, but he'll do it himself. This is talking about there are going to come a time when the Syrian army is going to be encamped against Jerusalem. They're going to have already taken some of the cities and towns on the outskirts of Judah, but they're going to be encamping, trying to take the capital. Now, and Judah cannot defeat the Syrian army in his own strength. So what the Lord is going to do is he's going to send the prophet Isaiah to Hezekiah, the king of Judah, and he's going to have a proposition for him. And Hezekiah is going to obey God, and because God is going to tell him if this is what I want you to do, and I'll protect you. And Hezekiah is going to believe God, and he's going to do what God want him to do. And so God is going to send a death angel into the Syrian camp, and it's going to kill 185,000 Syrian troops. And the remnant that's going to be left, they're going to hightail it back to Syria. Now, this king of Assyria is called Sennacherib. Sennacherib. I have a hard time pronouncing that. Sennacherib. Now, he's going to meet his end when he gets back to Assyria because his 2 sons is going to plot to overthrow him, and they're going to be successful at it. One of them is going to become king. Another one probably just going to get lost because you can't have uh, 2 kings, and so strong of the two became king, and the other one didn't want to be in his way, so he sort of got lost. All right. Hosea chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. After she went Alo Ruhamah, Gomer had another son. Again, this is not saying that it's Hosea's, but we going to have more proof a little bit later on. Because, like I said, that'd be pretty weak if I was just going to say because the book didn't say it was Hosea's. It's not. Okay, that could just be that would be weak. Okay. Then the Lord say, "Call him Lo Ami," which means not my people. For you are not my people, and I'm not your God. Okay, now look now, the relationship between the Lord and Israel and Hosea and Gomer is marrying each other. You can see this in these verses. Now, now we're getting closer to the evidence that this may not be Hosea's kids, but remember, the two relationship marries one another. All right, chapter 1, verses 10 and 11. Yeah, the Israels will be like the sands of the seashore, which cannot be measured or counted. In the place where it is said, "You are not my people," they will be called the children of the living God. So He will forgive them. And remember, it's marrying, so um, Hosea is going to have to forgive Gomer also. The people of Judah and the people of Israel will uh, come together and be appointed one leader and will come up out of the land, for great will be the day in Jezreel. Okay. Now let's get to chapter 2. In chapter 2, Israel is punished and restored. Okay, chapter 2, we're going to start on verses 2 and 3. Rebuke your mother and rebuke her, for she is not my wife, and I'm not her husband. Let her remove the adulterous look from her face and faithfulness from between her breasts. Otherwise, I will strip her naked and make her as bare as the day she was born. I will make her like the desert, turn her into a parched land, and slay her with thirst. Chapter 2, 4 and 5. I will not show my love to her children because they are children of adultery. And this is the line here that the historians sort of believe that proves that the other two children, the last two, is not his kids. Because remember, he's talking about Israel, but the stories mirror one another. Their mother has been unfaithful and has conceived them in disgrace. Okay. And so that's the whole thing right there. Where you say, I would not love her children because they are children of adultery, and her mother has been unfaithful and conceived them in disgrace. And so these verses, folks, are talking about Israel and it's talking about uh, Gomer. Okay. The relationship between God and Israel and Gomer and her husband Hosea. Now, let's go on with this. She said, I will go after my lovers, and that's what Gomer did. Who gives me the food and water and my wool and my linen. And these guys that was using her was probably doing little things like that for her. She's a prostitute. So prostitutes do get paid. Okay, so she's doing this. Okay. Now, and she's doing this while she's still with Hosea for a while. Eventually she was gonna get up and leave. And I guess that's the point where you are just running around on the prophet and he knows about it, but he's not leaving you. He's following God's orders because he's being faithful. And pretty soon, probably the woman just got to the point where she didn't have any respect for him because she can do this and get away with it, you know. So she says she wants to go after her lovers, you know, and because they're the one giving her the food and the water and the wool and the linen, my olive oil and my drink. Now, at the same time, there's things that's happening in the relationship between God and Israel that marries this. Okay. Therefore, this is the Lord speaking. Therefore, I will block her path with thorn bushes, and I will wall her in so that she cannot find her way. Okay, he's talking about Israel and Gomer. Okay, she will chase after her lovers, but will not catch them. She will look for them, but not find them. Then she will say, I will go back to my husband as at first, for I was better off then than now. Okay, Hosea, second chapter, verses 8 and 9. She has not acknowledged that I was the one who gave her the grain, the new wine, the oil, and lavished her with silver and gold, which she used for Baal. I look to like a Baal. Therefore, I will take away the grain when it ripens, and the new wine when it's ready. I will take my wool and my linen and tend to cover her naked body. All right, Hosea 10:11. So now I will expose her slueness before her eyes of her lovers. Okay. Now, no one will take her out of my hands. I will stop all her charities. Now you're talking about Israel here. Now, like I said, they mirror each other. I will stop all her celebrations, her yearly festivals, her new moon, her Sabbath days, and all her appointed festivals. Now, let's talk about Israel in this verse because what they were doing, they were having celebrations uh, and celebrating different events like they had supposed to, according to the covenant. Okay, so they sort of felt like they were not that bad, but at the same time, they were also visiting these pagan temples and participating in that worship, the idol worship also. So they were doing both. And so this sort of reminded me of a person who goes to church and they put a lot of money in the tithe. They put a lot of money in the offering, but they do nothing that Christ told them to do. But somehow they think they are not that bad because look how much money I'm giving. So that's what's going on here. They're keeping up with these so-called events that they're supposed to keep up with according to the covenant. So they feel like they're halfway right. Man, maybe we got a little problems, but we're not that bad. But that's not the way God saw it. Okay, let's go on down to 21:23, second chapter. In the day I will respond, declares the Lord, and I will respond to the sky, and they will respond to the earth. And earth will respond to the grain and the new wine and olive oil, and they will respond to Jezreel. I will plant her for myself in the land. I will show my love to the one who I call not my loved ones. So he's going to forgive them. And I will say to the one called not my people, you are my people. And they will say, you are my God. Now, this marries Hosea. So Hosea's going to forgive Gomer, and he's going to call Gomer's children, the one that's his and the two that's not, his kids, because he's going to do what God is doing with Israel. All right, let's move on. Chapter 3. Hosea reconciliation with his wife. Now, let me say something here. I don't want to be so hard on Gomer, but it just sometimes when I see people try to make this story about Hosea and Gomer, not God and Israel. When Gomer was out there doing her thing, when she finally left and was out there doing her thing, Hosea was home, taking care of the kids. Gomer's out and about, fornicating and committing adultery. Okay, prostituting. Uh, the prophet just didn't jump up and run behind his wife because somehow he was so captured and he was so much in love with Gomer that he just had to go find her. And that's the tale that some people trying to make the story about. The prophet just so in love with the promiscuous woman. God is going to have to tell Hosea to go get his wife. Hosea's not out there running out behind Gomer. He's home. And so in Hosea 3:1, the Lord is going to say, go show your love to your wife again, though she's loved by another man and is an adulteress. Love her as I love Israel, though they turn to other gods and love the sacred raisin cakes. Okay, so God is going to tell him, go get your wife and go love her again. I don't care that she's with another man and loved another man. Um, Israel has done the same thing to me. Okay, and so this is what the story mirrors one another. Now, in Hosea 2:3, Gomer is going to be in a bad situation when Hosea finds her. Uh, she was going to be on an auction block. Well, someone's trying to, they're about to sell her. She done got herself in trouble and probably done got some debt up and she can't pay the debt. So someone is just took her as a slave, because uh, you know, she can't buy her freedom. She has nothing. And you can see right there in the picture, her hands are tied. She's property of uh, this guy next to her. So 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 Jose is going to go and he's going to buy her back. Okay. So he said, I bought her 15 shekels of silver and I bought a homer and a lecter of barley. I don't know what a homer and a lecter is, of barley. Then I told her, you are to live with me many days and you must not be a prostitute. I'll be intimate with any man and I will behave the same way. Now, this is going to mirror two an events that's Israel going to go through. Okay, remember the relationships are mirroring one another. And this is what Israel will go through that will mirror what Hosea just said. For the Israelites will live for many days without a king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred stones, without an ephod, household guards. Afterwards, Israel will return and seek the Lord their God and David their king. They will come trembling to the Lord and to his blessings in the last days. Now you can see how the story in the first three chapters, how the relationship between Gomer and Hosea and the relationship between Israel and God and this story mirrors one another. So sometimes when the Lord is talking about Israel, he's also referring to Gomer. And when the Lord is talking about Gomer, he's also referring to Israel. Something similar is happening in Israel. All right. So in chapter one, folks, and I probably say all three chapters I'm going to do here, part one, I should say, faithful to the unfaithful. And that's what this whole story of Hosea is about. How God is going to be faithful to unfaithful Israel. And he's going to offer them forgiveness for them just to turn around. Now we're going to get into the second part. In the second part, we're going to deal more with Jose's ministry. Gomer don't come up anymore, and that relationship is done after the first three chapters. That's why I say it's sort of unfortunate that people make the story about the first three chapters and not the last 10 chapters of the book. Actually, the last 11 chapters of the book. Okay. Now I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to uh, try to get part two out within 2 days. I'm still working on it. And then part three, 2 days after that. By the end of this week, I should have all three parts out. So in closing, I want to say that if anything we learn from Jose is like God didn't want you to forgive. Okay. I'm not saying that uh, you have a partner like Gomer that you have to stay there. And in Jose's case, uh, he commanded him to stay there because he was I like to say training him, putting him, maybe training is not a good word, but the thing is, he's going to, after his experience with Goma, he's going to have a a very good example of what God is going through with Israel. So, but if you're with a unfaithful spouse, it doesn't mean that you have to stay with the person, because you can actually leave somebody for adultery. But in this case, this was different. God was using this relationship to train the prophet. All right, so I'm going to stop it right there, folks. So until next time, folks, may God be with all of us. And I'm going to go ahead and stop it here.